Hello, wonderful person. I'm Cindy James. Welcome to Prosperity on the Go. Let's begin by traveling back in time and space, and we can do that all the time, wonderful people. We just need to drop into the eternal now, to take a daring dive into the present moment, breathing into this space, just allowing everything to fall away, and being in the vast landscape of timelessness and space. And then just seeing a timeline, however it is this comes in your imagination. It is as powerful as anything that you do in your life. Travel back in time to 27 BCE and specifically find yourself in Rome on the Roman Senate floor as the following resolution is being decreed. Whereas the Emperor Augustus Caesar, in the month Sextilis, thrice entered the city in triumph, and in the same month Egypt was brought under the authority of the Roman people, and in the same month an end was put to the civil wars. And whereas, for these reasons, the said month is, and has been, most fortunate to this empire, it is hereby decreed that the Senate said this month shall be called Augustus. Dun, 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 dun. So there you have it, people. Not only was July named after Julius Caesar, that August is named after his grandnephew. The guy's full name was Gaius Octavius, and when Julius Caesar exited stage left due to the Ides of March, many stabbings, he extended his name to Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus in 44 BC, often referred to simply as Octavian. So he went on, and remember, we're going on a timeline. I had to think about this for a moment, that 44 BCE is before 27 BCE, because we're coming on the time level to when we started measuring CE, before Christian era, after Christian era. In 31 BC, Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus, I'm probably not saying that right, defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra to gain control over the empire. Apparently a very big deal. We've made lots of movies of that in the past. Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor and all that kind of great stuff. And I think it's kind of amazing that these 2 months, July and August, are named after emperors and dictators of ancient societies and given the title because of their prowess in war and domination. Although in this, there was also an end to civil war. I can't imagine that the ending of the Civil War was by some sort of kumbaya moment. But that's what these months are named after, because they were normally named after the Latin for 6th month and 7th month. That's what Sextilis is. It means 6th month. And the reason why it was Sextilis, because it's the 8th month now for those of us that are traveled back into the present moment of 2022 or whenever you're listening to this, but it was originally the 6th month because the Roman calendar began in March. If you've been following any of my Power of the Month series, January and February did not exist as months. It was like a wasteland of the harvest, and so the calendar wasn't measured until March, and from March to December were 10 months. I mean, December comes from the 10. I know it in diez as in Spanish, but November comes from 9, and then October comes from 8, and September comes from 7, and then August, what we call August, came from 6, Sextilis. And then I can't remember what July was, but I remembered it last month when I was doing that. Something with the 5 in it, I'm sure. So that's how we come to the name of August. But what I love about the honorary title that he was given, Augustus is an honorary title. When he was named emperor, this Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus was given that title August, and August is actually a definition. August is an attribute. And so if we're taking ourselves out of the war dynamic and the victor and then the ones that have been, dominated into what August really means, then I think we're going somewhere with this month. August, the Latin word Augustus, means noble, majestic, venerable. I mean, it means something that is consecrated with great value. It has supreme dignity and grand fortune. I think that is really cool. I mean, I'm just going to read some of that again and see if you can breathe into your own nobility, your own majesticness, your own venerability, your own supreme dignity, your own grand fortune, and consecrate your being and your life with these attributes. You are venerable, noble, majestic, supremely dignified, and with grand fortune. And I will add, befitting your divine heritage. These attributes are not egocentric or ego building, or the ego being the affirmation of being separate. They're actually capable of bringing great union when we know them as part of our divine oneness, as part of that infinite power that made us. And to consecrate is to make holy with great sanctification, with great awareness of the value of it. Consecrate right now, again. I'll say it again because we clearly can't say this enough with the distractions that we can get from our worthiness. That you are noble, that you are majestic, that you are venerable, that you have supreme dignity, and your soul right is grand fortune. And take some breaths into that. I like to say, they say there's natural childbirths and unnatural childbirth. I mean, a natural childbirth could be like at home in a tub birthing a baby, and an unnatural one might be called a C-section, which is a cesarean section, by the way. That comes from Caesar as well. That I don't think it's been actually proven, but apparently Julius Caesar was born by cesarean section, and that's how that supposedly got his name. But I like to say that every birth is a natural birth, and every death is a noble death. That the naturalness and the nobility of our life from start to finish is something that, like from the American Constitution, is an inalienable right. We hold this truth to be self-evident. I hold these truths to be self-evident. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That every birth is a natural birth, and every death is a noble death. No one, in no situation, and no circumstance on earth can take that away. I remember when George Floyd was murdered the way he was, and the expansion that has come since that time from that, in my opinion, heinous, extraordinarily painful situation. I remember thinking, I don't want to put his soul in eternal victimhood, despite the fact that he was a victim. I don't want his life to be anything more than noble, and a noble catalyst for the truth of what happens when we pretend to the level of, I'll use this intense term, psychotic delusion that we're not one and that we don't all each matter. And so that nobility doesn't come from hierarchy. It doesn't come from you're better or worse. We are going to be bringing August and Augustus and the power of August into the truth of the non-hierarchical meaning of August, of nobility, of majesticness, of supreme dignity, of grand fortune, as I always add, befitting our divine heritage. This is a month to own, proclaim, feel, immerse, talk about, especially in Leo season before August 23rd, and certainly in Virgo season, we can do it then again, is to own, proclaim, live, honor, share the divine heritage that brings us this supreme dignity, pardon me, this nobility, this majestic life. This is being broadcast from an island by the sea in southern Jersey, so you're hearing some yard work perhaps in the background. There's other ways that we can describe something as august or majestic. It can take the term of an adverb, augustly. She entered the room augustly. or a noun, Augustness. I want to tell you, I've never in my life heard or said this in a sentence before right now. The Augustness. The Augustness of the occasion of the coronation was majestic. I don't think that's a very good sentence, but I just used it. August also relates to augury, Augury, which I have heard before, because of course I'm all things supernatural. And supernatural is just, it's super and it's natural. It's crazy great. Supernatural. It relates to the, and means the act of divination. I remember taking sticks that were a Y shaped and holding the ends of the Y and letting the point go to divine for water. A divining rod is something that would bow when there's a water source. And I can tell you that actually works. I mean, it didn't always work for me, but it did work for me. But augury relates to this kind of divination, which means telling the future by reading the behavior of birds and animals and examining their entrails and other parts. And if you don't know what entrails mean, yes, that's like, you cut them open and where's the innards going? Aw, thank you, animals and birds that sacrifice themselves for the act of divination. And augurs as a role, Augurs, were the official Roman soothsayers. Their job was to determine if the Roman gods approved a course of action. So they would be the one that would say, they would consult the Roman gods and say, yes, this is the way to go. This is the proper course of action. So that's a very rich history for August. Something else that happened was, the thing that we always say, 30 days have September, April, June, and November. The rest have 31 except for February. This is how it came to be. Every month was off and on 30 and 31. That's how they did it to make the 365-day calendar. But since July had 31 days, and that was Julius Caesar, now named after Julius Caesar, August, they didn't want to have just 30 days because they didn't want to insult the ego. I'm sure that's not the way they thought of it at all. Or maybe they were super proud of their egos. I don't really know. That's an interesting thing to contemplate. But they had to make August 31 days too. So July and August both had to have 31 days so that the memory or the current ego of the emperor would not get insulted. So then they had to do a whole bunch of adjustments to the calendar to do that. So to inflate the importance of August, a day was taken from February. So February originally had 29 days, and then it was reduced to 28 days, except in leap year when it has 30. Go to the Power of February if you want to hear that story. I just think it is fascinating how we have come up with this calendar. And then, since the months were evenly alternated between 30 and 31 days, if they added an extra day to August, it meant that July, August, and September would all have 31 days. And they thought that was to avoid 3 long months in a row. And I don't know why that would be a negative thing. But they switched it around so that the last 4 months were switched, giving 30 days to September, April, June, and November. All the rest of 31, except for February. So that's pretty cool. I also read that 2 other emperors tried to get the months named after him. Claudius tried to change May to Claudius, and that didn't last very long. And Nero instituted Neronius for April. Also, that did not last the test of time. Could you imagine it would be January, February, March, Neronius, Claudius, April, June, July, August, or some Americanized version of that for us. Maybe it would be Cloudy for May and Neron. That doesn't sound very Americanized. I don't know what it would be. So that's how we come to the origin of the name. And I think what history can tell us is how to expand from the way we lived before, how to take the best attributes that we knew of and that we inhabited at the time and bring that into fruition. Even when I was thinking about the thrice entered, that royal decree, whereas the emperor Augustus Caesar in the month of Sectillus thrice entered the city in triumph, I was thinking about that and thinking, could we make a decree for ourselves? Oh my gosh, I didn't even think until this moment. Whereas the Empress Cindy James in the month of Augustus thrice entered her mind and body and spirit in triumph over the voice that says you're not enough, over the voice that says you are unlovable, that you're not strong, over the voice that says that the world is hopeless, over the voice that says that you can't make a difference, over the voice that says you're not safe. All those things. I didn't invent that. The Empress Cindy James did not invent that. It is just that tape that can be overlaid because of us all forgetting that we're one, and then we get to remember it. But you can even pause this if you would like. What kind of decree would you like to make about yourself with the power of August, with the power of nobility, with the power to consecrate this grand fortune of yours? To decree and to own and to proclaim the magnificence, the venerability, the incredible nature of yourself radiating to the world in what you specifically want to do. And what do you need to triumph over? I'll even say it, since this is, he thrice entered the city in triumph. What three aspects of your experience would you like to lovingly triumph in, to be triumphant? Take some deep breaths into this, because we are accessing the power of the seasons, the power of the atmosphere, the power of the revolving earth, the power of our human longing to understand these bigger questions of existence that have us go into space, that contemplate the galaxies and the stars, that go through time and history and imagine the past and study it and project into the future. We are seekers naturally of truth, capital T, truth. And so what we would want to triumph over are those aspects of our forgetting that we're infinite, that cause unnecessary suffering, that cause suppression of our true power, that cause unhealthy relationships, whether it's with our body or with others or our environments or where we live or with our earth. So taking some deep breaths, just find in this time of just breathing in and breathing out, what three aspects that have given you some trouble or have veiled your magnificence, your nobility. Name them, identify them. And then you can write them down if you haven't already. I really don't know if you can hear the weed whacker or whatever's going on in my neighbor's yard, but it sounds very much like an instrument called a sound instrument called the tambura. And it has that exact kind of sound. And I thought, how beautiful that the sound healing energy of the tambura is coming to bring us into this state of clarity and purification, of the alchemy of transforming that energy from the negative to the positive current. I will share with you what three came up for me. The first one was my relationship with my body. And not that I want to triumph over the relationship with my body, but that part of a mental construct or a thought pattern that says that your body is misshapen, it's ugly, it's too big, it's too small, it's too old. That vanity, that measurement of my value having to do with how my body looks in any moment and whether it conforms to standards that others approve of or society approves of or my own judging archetype approves or disapproves of. That has been a source since I would say like 9, 10, 11 years old of, I guess if you're not triumphing over something, it's triumphing over you, that it gets a louder voice at times than the truth. The second thing that I that came to me was this ability to be able to put the state of my romantic love into its proper perspective. I have a program, a VIP program that I do with people individually, and it may be coming as a group soon, and it's the Sacred 8 Attitudes. And it is the attitude towards these 8 attributes or these 8 facets of our life that really determine our health, our happiness, our vibrancy, our harmony, our prosperity plus. And one of the 8 is the state of our romantic life. It's not the life itself, it's our attitude towards it. So that has been something that I have been, since I remember pining for boys when I was 11 years old. So right away, we know we're in craving energy and not in wholeness. And I've recently learned something really extraordinary, and I feel in the state of triumph over this lower vibrational belief system. But that pining for a boy, I remember his name was Chris. I don't know if it was 10 years old, but I was in 5th grade, and I would ride by his house to see if he was there. Aw, Cindy Lou. I'd watched a lot of romantic comedies with Doris Day and Rock Hudson at that point, and I was buying hook, line, and sinker to have a romantic love that had strife in it and all of that, and then you come together in the end was the way to happiness. And I wanted that for my parents too, who their marriage, was pretty challenged, and then they ended up splitting ways after 29 years. But they were definitely together, living together at that time. And I remember thinking that feeling was like longing, like craving or pining. And I have recently learned after the completion of a relationship that when I allow myself to long for any human relationship, I will suffer. I will be putting the energy that's made to have me reunite with my whole higher self and the greater God, however you know God, Great Spirit, Jesus, Buddha, Baba, Science, Nature, Allah, Goddess, Universe, higher self, higher power, however it is you know the greater, that is what the energy of longing is for. And when we come here as humans, we come from the spirit realm where we're immersed in this non-physical reality, and we know the love, the unconditional love of the oneness, and we come to earth for this game of forget and remember, of hide and seek, and we come here to seek that love in the body. But what the mistake that we make is we seek that exclusively with, whether it's first our parents or then with siblings or friends or then romantic partners or however it is, we then transfer thinking that we're going to get that feeling of the unconditional love of the divine that we were immersed in by an exclusive relationship or a number of exclusive relationships. And that is very common here. It's called the universal vicious circle of immature love. But that longing can never be satisfied by another human being because they're on the same task and journey we are to find that reunion of souls but within our own selves. And from that place, then we can enter into healthy relationships where they're collaborative. They're not based on lack or neediness or power over. And so this second attribute of me for knowing that I long for one thing, union with the oneness within me and around me, and that I can like to have a romantic relationship, and I can not like it, and I can like it, and I can like not having it, or I can like having it. It's a much lighter energy. So the attitude towards it is, I think, like a cherry on top of a sundae. My life is a great big hot fudge sundae with all the ingredients of deliciousness and fun and nurturing and all of that. I mean, set aside any belief system that I or we might have about whether an ice cream sundae is good for you or not, but it's certainly delicious and a fun treat. But whether I have romantic love in my life, or whether I'm in relationship with someone that is treating me well or not well, or did treat me well or not well, is just whether there's a cherry on top or not. The ice cream sundae is just fantastic. But to have, I do like maraschino cherries. I don't eat them anymore because I think they're like red dye number 5. I could be wrong about that. It's not that I wouldn't eat them, but I don't seek them anymore. I very much like the frozen dark sweet cherries that you can get, the organic ones. And oh my God, have a few of those at nighttime. By the way, cherries also have natural melatonin in them. And if you do take some melatonin, it'll help the uptake of it. And it also helps if you have like a sweet tooth at nighttime to have just a bowl of maybe 8, 10 frozen dark sweet cherries. That's my go-to when I'm in that kind of mode. But yet I digress. My second of the thrice triumphing is the attitude towards romantic love as a cherry on top. It's lovely, it's beautiful, but if it's not on there, I'm still going to enjoy the sundae of my life just as much. And the cherry can be there or the cherry cannot, and to put it in its proper perspective. And then the third attribute, the third area that I would seek some triumph over is my attitude towards intense exercise. I have some sort of belief system that if I exercise very intensely, I'll get injured, that somehow my body is incapable of it. And then throughout my lifetime, I've tried to triumph over this by going from 0 to 100 and proving that to be true. The first time that I really hurt myself was in a yoga class with a bunch of people that have been doing yoga for a very long time, and the teacher was one of those teachers, I will say like a Western teacher, that really doesn't understand that yoga means union, and it's the actual physical movements are just one of the 8 practices, the asanas, but there's also meditation and concentration and breath work and non-attachment and all that kind of great stuff, and was pushing my body into positions throughout the whole class. And I hadn't been practicing yoga for a very long time, and I actually let her push me in, and something went twang in my shoulder. And I went back the next day or 2 days later because I thought, yes, just keep going, Cindy, push through the pain, and then twang in my hip. And I don't know if that was a result of a thought system in my brain that then became a self-fulfilling prophecy, or whether it was because I didn't say, hey, no, thank you. I'm not going to push. Please don't push my body into that shape right now. And this wasn't, I get to lead yoga classes now, and I have amazing yoga instructors that I've had in my life, like true guru teachers that understand that, the purpose of yoga is union with God. It literally means to yoke, to link up. That kind of touch that helps guide you is different than the one that pushes you into a position that your limbs are not ready for. Oh, look, I'm having a phone call from my daughter. Please hold one moment. I'm back. It was a wonderful opportunity for my daughter and I. She'll be turning 30 in the month of August. I have an August baby, a Leo baby, or a Leo woman, about that intense exercise thing. And it was a really good conversation. So sweet. And she's preparing for her birthday celebration, which I am so excited about. My oldest child is turning 30. How great is that? God bless us, everyone. So that's the thrice for me. I hope the thrice for you is something that you feel like, as I was sharing it with you, I was feeling such lightness about it. It's like, oh, Cindy, silly rabbit. Those aren't that hard. Yeah, your body is beautiful. Love will come and go. That's just the nature of the business. That's why, every country song and movie has all this stuff about it. I like to say romantic love is very cooked up because we can have experiences of that union that we seek with the greater God and the lover and the beloved. But it's not meant to be the way to that union. It's an experience of that's possible. Those experiences are not meant to involute on each other. They're meant to be like, oh, this is about something greater. And so we can get like right church, wrong pew when we seek those experiences in romantic love. Aw, Cindy Lou's growing up. God bless her. I think for the first time in my life, in this month of August, consecrating my grand nobility and my grand fortune and knowing the true inspirational, reverential nature of my being, that I feel whole and complete. And I'm so grateful because, you can't fake that shit, people. I mean, you can tell yourself things, but you know that when you are trying to fake it till you make it, like, I know that I'm a whole sovereign woman and I matter, or I know that I'm beautiful, or I know that I'm powerful, and I know blah, blah, blah. But underneath, you still have those doubts. For the first time since I was pining for boys, fifth grade, whenever that was, I feel a sense of wholeness, fulfillment, contentment, being me, and can imagine a life, the rest of my life, as just as happy and as joyful as possible, whether or not I'm ever in romantic love again. And that is worth its price in gold. It is a freedom. It is a sense of wonder because, literally, people, I'm 57 and a half right now. So 47 years I've had that as a construct, that in order to be a whole, happy, healthy, harmonious, prosperous, powerful, successful woman, I would need to be in a romantic relationship. And I now see that if it's not the highest and healthiest romantic relationship, it's just going to be a diversion and it's not going to serve me. There is a woman, I say she's like a modern day saint, and she would never own that about herself, but she's been a spiritual guide through me my whole life. And when I was going through my divorce, 4 years ago or something like that, she said to me, Cindy, because I was still, wanting to bide my time until that was done, and then I could get into another, romantic love that would be the one that would, fulfill that unfulfillable thing. No human can do that for you. And this is what she said to me, and just with such sweetness and power, and it comes to me so strongly, and I will say this to you, that she said, Cindy, you can have a romantic partner, but remember, nothing but God is going to satisfy you. And being in relationship with someone that doesn't have a similar awareness and longing of that being the focus of their life. And this doesn't mean that you're not going to dance and sing and have parties and travel the world and laugh and swear or do whatever. It just means that this, for me in this lifetime, for as long as I can remember, since I was singing Day by Day over and over again in a treehouse at 7 years old, it's from Godspell, Day by Day, oh dear Lord, 3 things I pray: to see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly, day by day. That's just, that's what I'm here for. And it is a wonderful blessing to see that divine force in everyone and everything, and to also be aware of where everyone is on their evolutionary journey. And I love being able to connect to you in this moment. I am just in awe of whatever the greater is within me and around me that has given me the gift and the blessing in this lifetime to be able to feel through time and space, through airwaves across the planet, and to be able to connect in with you and with multiple people from that place of oneness. It's an extraordinary experience, and I feel that in this moment. And what I know to grow into my human self is that because I have been given that ability and service to one and all, doesn't mean that I'm not a human that's still evolving. That doesn't mean that in my intimate relationships that I need to be able to be aware that I have to see a bigger picture. And those things that those spiral points is what we've called them, is that those aspects of the relationship to the lovability and beauty of my body, to romantic love being what I think I need to be happy and healthy, and to even intense exercise, that those, I'll meet those in my lifetime. And each time I meet them, it's not like I'm back at square one. You're not back at square one, wonderful people, when you're dealing with that same issue you've been dealing with since you were 15 or 20 or 5 or 45, like whatever it is. You're hitting it at a higher awareness potential level. It still might hurt like a rat bastard, but it is uniquely designed to bring you a greater freedom and awareness around those issues. So that in this moment in time, in August, in the nobility of our birth, the natural noble coming in and leaving this earth, coming into belief systems that are lesser and then letting them go, and then experiencing the freedom of not being bound by any kind of judgment about yourself, and immersing ourselves in the August triumphant divine heritage of what you and I and everyone is. I want to end this with it was my favorite Catholic prayer growing up, and it was something that we said in the novena, where you have your rosaries and you say the Our Father or the Lord's Prayer and then the Hail Mary. My favorite prayer from that was the Glory Be. And I'm going to say it the way I said it as in the Catholic tradition, and then I'm going to also then say, to complete this podcast, just holding you and everyone in the highest and healthiest vibrations, so that we can, with the magic of alchemy, move through what might seem like the valley of the shadow of death, until goodness and mercy follows us all the days of our lives. Which was a great soap opera. I think it's still on, by the way. All right, here goes the prayer. Glory be to the Father, to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. And now I'll say it in a non-gender or patriarchal sense. Glory be to the Creator, to the creation, and to the energy that flows through all of us, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm feeling tender, vulnerable, and also so grateful for the inspiration to keep going, to keep moving through with great devotion to the core values of love, service, compassion, strength, power, and all of those attributes that come from the infinite soul. And I love this opportunity to share with you in the ethers, in the eternal now, in the fleeting now, and forever and ever, world without end. Amen. Alleluia. Amen. Jai Baba. So hum. So be it. Mwah. Love and blessings. Love, power, and blessings. Dear wonderful person. If you enjoyed this episode, wonderful person, and you'd like to share the love, the power, and the possibilities, please post about it on social media and share it with your people. I'd really appreciate that.